to the 5th edition of No Such Thing as the News, coming to you from up the creek in Greenwich, London. My name is Dan Schreiber, and I am sitting here with Anna Chazinski, Andrew Hunter-Murray, and James Harkin. We are here to bring you the most interesting things we found in the news of the last 7 days. Now, this week, there's been a lot of tragic news all over the world. A lot of it's confusing, a lot of it's senseless. We're no better equipped to make sense of it than anyone else. What we can try to do is remind you that there is amazing stuff in this world. And in the next half hour, we want to show you some of the thousands of strange, wonderful, weird as hell things that do make this world an awesome place to live in. So we're going to start this show this week with my fact, and my fact is that Mongolia is changing all of its addresses. This was just announced. Mongolia is changing every single address in the country. Now, the reason for this is because they have no reliable addresses, really. It's really hard to deliver mail in Mongolia.
It's not just that they don't have many road names or anything like that. I mean, a lot of them are all named after Genghis Khan, for instance.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of them are. But and also, there's a lot of nomads living there, and they move around all the time.
It's amazing. 75% of the world's population doesn't have a reliable address. 75%. And so there's this incredible new invention, and it's called What Three Words? And it's basically the world has now been mapped into these 3 by 3 square meter spaces, and each 3 by 3 square meter space has been given 3 words to tell you where that is. 3 unique words. We all have it. In fact, right here in Greenwich, in Up the Creek, the club that we're in right now, if you put in arena, wages, pits, that's where we are right now. Now, Mongolia has a terrible system, and so what they've said is, why don't we use this and we'll just take it completely over, and Mongolia will just have these 3-word phrases.
Mongolia as well, it's an interesting one. It's the least densely populated country in the world. I think it's got about 2 people per square kilometre.
Wow!
Really? There are 3 million people living in the country.
Incidentally, I was on the Mongol Post website, which is... this is news on the Mongol Post website. The most recent item is that a postage stamp was created for their 3 millionth citizen. And there was this huge deal. So the 3 millionth citizen was born on the 24th of January last year, and the family got this certificate, got 70 million Mongolian tugrik, the currency, which is enough to buy a 2-bedroom apartment. The president called the parents of this child to congratulate them and to name the baby himself, and he named the baby Mongoljin, which sounds like it's just like naming a baby Englishman, but that's what he said. But there's this postage stamp designed, and I'm going to show it to you because it will make you wish you were the 3 millionth person born in Mongolia. Check that out. It's a baby awesomely riding a bucking horse.
Oh, wow.
How cool is that? Just for accidentally being born.
But that's how they used to do all of their posts in Mongolia.
Well, they sent a baby on a horse?
No. No, they used to. So back in the 10th and 11th century, they used to have the Mongol horse relay courier system. And so what it would be is you would have people on horse. They would deliver the mail. The thing I really like is that one of the rules of being the people who could take the mail, the postman, what you're allowed to do was commandeer anything you wanted. If you saw another horse that you thought would go fast, you'd be like, that's my horse now. If you pit stopped at a house along the way, you could treat it like a pit stop and just take what you want. I'm delivering the mail. That's now my sandwich. And you go on.
That's really cool. I think it was Kublai Khan's system, wasn't it? And he had 50,000 horses at his disposal, or of the post office's disposal, 6,700 mules, 6,000 boats for the water, and they also had 1,150 sheep.
That's interesting that you mentioned the boats, because modern-day Mongolia actually have their own navy, despite being a landlocked place. So they've got one ship, and from a video that I watched from 2011, it's crewed by 7 sailors, of which only one of them can swim. So this is how sort of away from the ocean they are. This is a quote from the captain. He said, "I'd like to see the real sea one day."
Yeah. And so we're beginning a Kickstarter right here, right now. Send that man to the ocean.
That's adorable.
You know, Mongolia recently proved that time travel existed. Yeah, it's exciting, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So they found, archaeologists recently have found an ancient mummy in Mongolia, and it died over a millennium ago, and it was 10,000 feet high, right up in the mountains they found it. And the weird thing about this mummy is that it was wearing a pair of Adidas trainers. And it's unmistakable, and if you Google it, it is, I mean, there's an ancient mummy that was found wearing a pair of Adidas trainers. It's pretty great. So archaeologists deny that they are officially Adidas trainers. But
They would do, wouldn't they? I mean, if time travel is real, then their whole business model is completely screwed.
I read this amazing article, and it was by a guy called Pico Iyer, and it's called Why Mongolia's Moment Is Now. And it's sort of explaining that Mongolia is now one of these places that is completely straddled in between the modern and the past, where the two are just living with each other. So, for example, a lot of people have mobile phones out there, cell phones, but what they don't have is mobile reception. So that's really annoying, right?
well, I don't know, you can still play Snake, presumably.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, Anna's still on a Nokia 55. So what they do, though, is they're very clever at working out how to make things work. And so they find out locations that actually have reception if you go to a certain height. And he said they genuinely do this. The way they send text messages is they get to the position, and if they're not high enough, they hold the send button, throw the phone up into the air really high, and then they capture it, and in the time it's gone up, it's got the reception, sent the message, and come back down.
It doesn't sound true, does it?
It sounds true, that's why he read it out. Where were you during Adidas trainer money? One thing about Mongolia, the country has one native Catholic priest, because it's not a Catholic tradition. They've very recently got their first ever Catholic priest who's from Mongolia, and it also has one gay bar only. In the whole country, there's only one gay bar. This guy who runs it sounds awesome. He's called Zorig Alima, and he calls himself a penis shaman. He sounds incredible. He says he can predict men's penis sizes and sexual predilections just by looking at them. But at the men, not at the penises.
Not to be confused with the penis shamer who lives next door. Looks out his window going, too small!
We need to move on very shortly. Has anyone got anything before we do?
Last week, a Russian postman was fired for folding a vinyl record in half so it would fit into a letterbox.
Okay. It is time for fact number 2, and that is Anna Chazinski.
Yeah, my fact this week is that the website addresses DonaldTrumpSucks.com, I'm being sued by the Donald.com, and IHateTrumpVodka.com are all owned by Donald Trump. Yeah, so this is this thing that came out, well, last year, the fact that Donald Trump and his company have bought up a whole bunch of websites that people might plausibly use if they didn't like him. And I think this year his general counsel revealed a list of 3,000 website addresses that they've taken. But I think it might run in the tens of thousands, the total number.
But in this week, his favourability rating has gone, I mean, it was already pretty low, but it's gone really low, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's 29% of Americans at the moment are favourable towards Trump. Which is by far the lowest that it's ever been for anyone in political history. But 29% is the same number of Americans who have a rodent problem. Also the same number who cannot find the Pacific Ocean on a world map.
You're not suggesting any link at all, though, are you?
And it's 1 fewer percent than the number of Americans who pronounce the word meme as me. So electhillary.com is owned by a lady called Janet Lassell, but she owns loads of websites in the hope that she could sell it on in the future. So she owns the first female president of the United States of America.com. $375,000 it'll cost you to buy that.
I'm all right.
No. OK, what about this one, Andy? President Hillary Rodham Clinton.com will be $3.7 million if you want to buy that off her.
Again.
OK. What about DateSantaClaus.com?
Now I'm interested.
That's one of hers, but on the website it says, make me an offer.
Ooh, well, that I can afford.
OK, here's another one which was make me an offer. Blowjobpay.com. That's owned by her.
Oh, my God.
What kind of offer does she want for that?
OK, and then another one that she owns, buylovelyflowers.com. And that's $25,000.
To say thank you for that blowjob.
So this week, in an interview, Trump said, I'm never going to let you down. And the internet kind of went crazy, thinking that maybe his entire campaign is just a massive rickroll. Right. But what I did find out is that Rick Astley might be #1 this week.
Yeah.
Right. Did you see that?
Wait, so quickly, can you explain?
Oh, I should explain what Rickroll is. So Rickroll is on the internet. What it is you tell your friends to click on something because they're going to get something really great, and then they get the Rick Astley song, Never Gonna Give You Up.
Yeah.
Instead.
And this is a massive internet meme. It's a... You think you're going to something and you click on it, it brings you to Rick Astley, it plays Never Gonna Give You Up, and it's been adopted. It's got so widespread that even the White House's Twitter account rickrolled someone when they accused them of being boring, and so they...
Really?
Yeah, so it makes it up to the top.
So in the midweek charts, he was #2, Rick Astley. But he was #2 by just 14 copies.
No! Who's ahead?
It is Tom Odell.
Wow.
And this is like the closest race to #1 in the album charts for ages and ages and ages. And there's a reasonably good chance that when we go to air, he will be #1.
Wow.
We need to move on very soon.
I have one thing. In the Richmond Times-Dispatch, there was an obituary of Mary Ann Noland. And the obituary said, faced with the prospect of voting for either Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, Mary Ann Noland of Richmond chose instead to pass to the eternal love of God. Which is nice, isn't it?
There was another in Donald Trump news this week. Samuel L. Jackson's made a statement about him in the last couple of days, saying that he really wants to do a duet with Donald Trump, which is nice. He says he wants to sing Billie Holiday's civil rights anthem, which is called Strange Fruit. But so I was looking into the relationship between Samuel L. Jackson and Donald Trump, and Jackson accused Donald Trump of cheating in golf in an interview earlier on this year, where the interviewer said, I hear you guys are golf buddies, and Samuel L. Jackson said, oh, well, we're not buddies, but we've certainly played golf a lot of times. I'm better than him because I don't cheat. Donald Trump sort of released a statement saying, I've never met Samuel L. Jackson, we don't know each other at all, we've certainly never played golf together. Samuel L. Jackson was confronted on this, said, I don't know what he's talking about, we literally played golf last week. Not only that, I played golf with him and this other guy called Anthony Anderson, and indeed Anthony Anderson tweeted after that interview, yes, what are you talking about, Trump? We all played golf together.
Okay, so we are halfway through, and it's time to look at the stories that you've sent in to us via emails and social media. So we're going to start with you, Anna.
Yes, this was a story that was emailed in by Felix Schultz. It is that a woman in Germany recently saw a man bury something in the woodland. She saw that he'd created a grave with a wooden cross, and so she called the police. A little coffin with the word Gurkey written on it was exhumed by the police. On opening it, they found a bit of mouldy old gherkin.
Andy, what have you got?
This was sent in by Tristan Earl, so thank you to Tristan. This is that a 230-foot-long replica of Noah's Ark collided with a moored Norwegian Coast Guard vessel as it arrived in Oslo, Norway on Friday. No animals were harmed because there were no animals on board.
And James, what have you got?
OK, mine was emailed by Tim Carney, and it's from the East Grinstead Courier. A disqualified driver from East Sussex with no teeth was given a 16-week suspended sentence for trying to resist arrest by sucking a police officer.
OK, it is time for fact number 3, and that is James Harkin.
OK, my fact this week is that dishes you can eat at the world's best restaurant include memory of a mortadella sandwich, the crunchy part of the lasagna, and oops, I dropped the lemon tart.
That was the unsuccessful follow-up hit to Oops, I Did It Again. It was a prequel song.
So this is a list of the world's 50 best restaurants, which came out this week by Restaurant Magazine. And it was topped by Osteria Francescana, which is a restaurant run by Massimo Bottura. And this apparently, according to this magazine, is the best restaurant in the world. And Oops, I Dropped the Lemon Tart. That came when one of the restaurant's chefs dropped a lemon tart.
What I really liked, actually, is that he's really inspired by art. And he said that he defines his food as traditional Italian food, but seen from 10 miles away. And I think that's just a byword for I have tiny, tiny portions. He's created dishes based around Damien Hirst's work, based around Ai Weiwei, based around Picasso. He said things that he has a dish where he said, I couldn't have done this without Gertrude Stein.
This chef, he's got quite an extraordinary story because he was cooking. He had his restaurant going for about 15 years, and it had obvious attractions, and people would say it's great, but it didn't have any proper credibility given to it from the actual industry. And it just so happens that a Michelin star inspector happened to have his car break down right near the restaurant. And while he was waiting for his car to be repaired, he thought, I better go get something to eat because I'm quite hungry from this restaurant. And that's how his restaurant was
And then
discovered.
they're like, quick, scrape that lemon tart off the floor.
The way that he's presenting all this food, this Italian food, it's actually causing controversy within the country. So he's getting all these overseas awards, but back home, for a while, they just thought you are ruining great Italian food. You were turning it into some artistic thing. And he said that while he was receiving massive awards from the UK for Best Italian Restaurant, he had inspectors coming over who were accusing him of poisoning people with his food and his ideas. And I don't know if that's within the remit of the health inspector to say... I don't know if he's got like a philosopher friend with him.
There's a mouse in the kitchen and a Gertrude Stein quote on the wall. Shut him down.
Can I just say one more thing about Massimo's restaurant, is that there's a particular artwork that was in this about 2 years ago when one interviewer went there, and it is this. So that's sitting in the middle of this restaurant, the best restaurant in the world, and it's just a bin liner sitting in the middle of the restaurant.
That really feels like an art critic's car broke down outside and he's like, shit, what are we going to do?
No, that's by Gavin Turk, and apparently it's the centrepiece of the restaurant. But yeah, it looks like a bin to me.
But that's modern art, you know.
That's what it is.
Did you guys see that the Tate Modern in London has just opened up its new wing? Yeah, so the new extension, Quartz, a website, went to it and they wrote an article about it, and they've revealed that it has twice as many live parrots as it has paintings. And it only has 2 parrots.
2 parrots that destroyed 50 paintings.
Yeah.
So it's going to be hard for us to get all the way down to, it's in Medina, isn't it, this place? Yeah. But we could go to the Naked restaurant in London, which is just opened.
And I think it's technically a pop-up restaurant, which is a pretty unfortunate...
Well, have you seen that Japan's opening up a naked restaurant next month, but in Japan's naked restaurant, they've banned people who are overweight or too old or have tattoos. So it says, if you are more than 15 kilos above the average weight for your height, we ask you refrain from making a reservation, and it warns that you might be weighed. There's a bit of a weigh-in.
What?
If you look like you might not be, only patrons of 18 to 60 are allowed in. Yeah,
That's terrible.
You're asked for ID to age you if they think you look 61, because presumably you haven't got your passport on you.
I do. Let me just get that. No, don't worry, sir. Don't worry.
So this is a fact about food, and there's a device that has just been approved in America by the FDA, and it's called the Aspire Assist. Have you guys heard of this?
No.
Okay. So what it allows you to do, it's a weight treatment basically, and it allows you to drain food directly from your stomach into a nearby toilet.
What?
Yes. They make a little hole here, and they give you what's called a skin port. That has a tube leading to your stomach, and once you've finished your meal, you just go to the loo, open your skin port, and sort of massage yourself, and then you put water back in to replace it, and you can cut 30% of the calories you've eaten this way.
But I've got a hole that I use, but
We've actually got a photo of it here. I'll show you later. Okay, it is time for our final fact of the show, and that is Andrew Hunter Murray.
My fact is that Britain has just got its first ever robot office manager. She is called Betty, and she has a short-term contract in Milton Keynes. So what this robot is, Betty, it's a smart robot working for a firm called Transport Systems Catapult, and her jobs are basically she patrols the office and she collects data on temperature and humidity and things like this, and it's a little bit creepy. They say it's been through loads of ethics committees, but it's also able to find out which members of staff are in at night when they shouldn't be and report them. And if it spots something that's out of place, if she spots something that's out of place, she takes a photo of it and emails it to her bosses saying, "What is this? Why is this here?" So yeah, and I've got a photo of her. This is Betty with one of her new colleagues. Obviously, Betty's the one on the left. Yeah.
she's got a younger brother, hasn't she? Or an older brother, sorry.
Yeah.
Bob.
Yeah.
But he worked as a security guard in Tewkesbury in 2014. I don't know if he's kept the job, but yeah.
How many wrong uns did he slam? They had one called Linda, which they were testing in 2013, and when they were testing Linda, it got stuck in thick carpet and had to text for help.
An interesting thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to humanize all these robots. So there's a very famous robot called Asimo. Do we all know Asimo? Yeah, so here's a picture of Asimo.
I met Asimo.
Did you?
Yeah, I've danced with him.
Oh, okay.
He did not call.
He texted for help at the time.
So Asimo gets taken around the world, set up on dates, apparently. He gets taken around the world, and he does demonstrations where he talks to various groups of people, and he can speak in lots of different languages. And so this is a really interesting thing. They took him to Italy, and when he was in Italy, they created a special reprogramming of Asimo so that when he talks, he now talks with his arms. It's amazing. And also, there's an interesting study that came out that is showing an interesting new development between humans and robots. And that is, the study says that touching robots in their private parts turns humans on. They did an experiment where they had 10 volunteers touching robots in 13 different places, right? And they found that when it got to the more intimate areas, that the person touching it had a slight arousal. Now, they say that it's not an arousal for the robot, it's just arousal for the idea of touching somewhere. And it's interesting because the robot actually, you can see footage of this robot. It's amazing. It's sitting down in quite a sexy position, I have to say.
You don't need to justify it.
And it says stuff to the person. It says, touch me here, and this is one of the comments that you can hear the robot say. We're going to play it in now.
Please touch my buttocks.
This takes me back.
This is possibly my favourite robot of the week. It's a Twitter robot, and it's called @assbot. And it's been instructed, I hate to drag the conversation back to Donald Trump, but it immediately replies to Donald Trump's tweets. And then, if anyone replies to those tweets and replies to Donald Trump, it will write nonsense sentences to them. And a lot of Donald Trump supporters have been getting into heated arguments with @assbot. So @assbot writes to Trump saying, delete your account. And a Trump supporter writes back saying, I think you mean delete your account, Mr. President. So @assbot replied, I like bad tweets, so I really enjoy your account is bad and your content is shit. Another of his tweets was, he likes to lick 'em, he likes to ride hogs. Bro, you seem V-nice.
Sounds like Trump could be controlling this account.
Okay, so that's it. That's all of our facts. Just time to share with you 4 stories that we didn't have time to cover. Let's start with you, James.
Okay, I want to finish with a report of England's game against Wales. From 1881. So that was Wales's first ever win over England. The final score was 1-0, and the only goal came after England's keeper was barged over as he threw the ball out. But the goal was allowed to stand by the referee, who was called Mr. Cigar Bastard.
Referees, Mr. Bastard.
Anna?
Yeah, this is from Bloomberg this week. It is the news that a chemistry professor testing out a weed breathalyzer using students as guinea pigs was puzzled when one of the students tested positive for drugs before the trial dose had even been administered. That was until the student remembered he just smoked a joint at breakfast. The chemistry professor's name is Herb.
Wow. My fact is that the youngest person on the Queen's honour list is a 21-year-old who got it for his extraordinary plumbing and heating prowess. And finally, Andy.
This is from the New York Times, and it's that nearly 4 years after Richard III was discovered under a car park in Leicester, archaeologists think they may have discovered Henry I under a car park in Reading. England is a nation of car drivers, said historian John Mullany. Henry was a reforming king and would have been fascinated by the idea of cars and transport, and may well have liked being buried under a car park.
Okay, that's all from No Such Thing as the News. By the way, if you'd like to find out the big mystery about why Jane Hill has been calling me Bernard this entire series, you can find out by clicking on the link above. That will take you to it. That's all from us. We'll see you again. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.